Welcome. In this video, we're going to talk about what memory is and discuss the three basic functions of memory, focusing in on encoding specifically in this video. When you think of the word memory, what do you think of? We all have something in mind when we think of memory, but we're going to discuss today what it means in terms of psychological terms. So a lot of times when I propose this in class, students will say, it's remembering something that's happened, or it's remembering something that I've learned in class, or being able to keep something that I've learned in class or in a textbook or from someone else and being able to apply that later on. And those are all aspects of memory. So we're going to define it for this class. So it's the capacity to retain and retrieve information. So something that you've been exposed to, something you've experienced it, and you can retain that information or that experience, and you can retrieve that later on. Often we think of it in psychological terms as an information processing system. And this information processing system involves recording that information or encoding that information, storing that information, and then retrieving that information. So it has all the aspects that we just talked about. We're going to focus in here on encoding that information. How do we encode that information to retain it and retrieve it later on? So when we're looking at this first stage of memory, encoding. And encoding involves getting information into the memory system. For the most part, it involves extracting the main points and summarizing them. You have to attend to the information at hand that's in the environment in order to encode it. Now, when we're encoding, we need to distinguish between what's automatic and what requires some effort. So automatic processing occurs with information that involves time, frequency, the meaning of the words. There are things that we just don't have to think about. They just get into our memory banks. We don't feel like we're doing anything specific to get that information stored so that we can retrieve it later on. And again, that's the automatic processing. It involves things that have to do with time, space, frequency, the meaning of words. However, there's quite a bit of information that we need to put some effort into processing. Think about it when you study. Does that information automatically get into your memory so that you can retrieve it later on for an exam? No, you need to put some effort into it. At least if you want to retain that information for more than a short period of time. So effortful processing or encoding involves adding some meaning to what you're trying to remember. You still need to extract the main points and summarize them, but if you also associate it with some sort of personal experience and meaning to it, it's going to provide you more cues to recall that information later on. So please bear with me and participate in this activity. It really will help you understand effortful encoding. So take out a piece of paper and number 1 through 30. You can either do it right in the notes that you're taking right now, or you can take out a clean piece of paper. This isn't really anything you'll need to save for later. You might want to pause the video while you do that. All right, now you have a piece of paper with the numbers 1 through 30 written down, and I'm going to read you a list of words. I'm going to say a letter before the word, and if I say the letter A before the word, I want you to write down the number of syllables. For example, if I say A and cat, you would write a 1. If I say A and hungry, you'd write down the number 2. If I say a B before the word, you're going to judge the word and decide for yourself if it's pleasant or unpleasant. It's whatever you feel when you hear that word. Cat, if you like cats, you might put a P. If you don't like cats, you might put a U. Hungry. Most of us would probably put a U for, unpleasant for hungry, but maybe you like being hungry because you like eating. It's really what you decide. You judge that word for yourself. Make the judgments quickly and without hesitation. I will read the words every 4 seconds. A, bike. B, month. A, magic. B, foot. A, monkey. B, clock. B, paint. B, bureau. A, bird. A, lemon. B, fire. B, trail. A, soap. B, pocket. A, pencil. B, train. A, grass. A, story. B, belt. A, kitchen. B, trunk. A, coal. B, pipe. A, pitch. B, coin. A, hammer. A, door. B, church. B, travel. A, fish. All right, now I'd like you to flip the paper over and just briefly think about what you did last weekend. Did you go to a party? Did you hang out with friends? Did you go out to dinner? Did you just sit home and study? All right, now that paper's flipped over, I'd like you to write down as many words as you can remember. Again, you might want to pause the video here while you write down all those words, and then we'll move on to the next slide. Hopefully you've already written down all the words before you've unpaused the video. And now I'd like you to write down next to those words whether they were on the A list or the B list. So please take a few minutes, again, pause the video if you need to. Write down if the words that you remembered were on the A list or the B list. Just put a little A or B next to them and then tally up how many A words you got right versus how many B words you got right. Again, pause the video as needed and unpause when you're done. All right, hopefully you've written down all the words you remembered. You have an A or a B next to them. You've tallied those up. Now, how many of you remembered more words on the B list? Can't do a show of hands, but think about it. Did you remember more words on the B list? It's probably majority of the class. Why would that be? Because you had to think about the word and the meaning to make a judgment about it. That involves some effortful encoding. You're making a word, you're making associations with that word, and you see how much better the encoding is when elaborative processing is used. You're using semantics or meaning when you're just telling the number of syllables, and that doesn't really help you associate any meaning with it. Occasionally, there are some students who remember more on the A list, and that's because they say that they really had to think about how many syllables that word had. So there are exceptions, of course, but for the most part, more students remember more words on the B list because of that effortful encoding. Now, there's different types of encoding. So semantic encoding involves encoding words based on their meaning. That's what semantics means. What's the meaning of that word? So now we know what semantic encoding is, and we'll talk about some other types of encoding. So visual encoding involves associating an image with the word rather than just the meaning of the word. So listen to this list of words: cat, train, honesty, bed, health, healthy, and promise. So you'll remember things that can give you a mental image much easier, like the word cat. Maybe even the word train. You're not only encoding the word, but the mental image gives you an extra cue to help remember that word. Then there's acoustic encoding. So this is the idea that the sound cues can also help you remember. We can often recall lyrics of a song that we haven't heard in years. Also, the idea that recalling the words to a song is much easier if you hear the music. We utilize this with children all the time, teaching them many different things through song. While this is a powerful tool, it still isn't as good as semantic coding, which provides meaning to what you're trying to remember. So visual encoding, acoustic encoding can give you extra cues, but you still need that semantic encoding to understand what you're trying to remember. So in the next video, we'll go through storage. We'll go through the different 3 boxes of memory that sometimes are referred to as. So keep on listening.